Are baby boomers really ready for retirement? What do you need to be prepared to enjoy life after work? Plan and secure your future. And on our green tips, sustainable eating, next on Living Smart. An elder law attorney for over 30 years, Colleen Campbell Root works to help retirees maintain their independence, life choices, comfort, and quality of care. Today we'll learn how to implement plans that conserve financial resources, access and preserve public benefits, and when appropriate, determine destinies through estate planning, wills, trust, and legal tips. Thank you for joining us, Colleen.
Well, thank you, Patty. It's just so wonderful to be here today.
This is sort of appears to be like a new field, estate law or elder care law. Why did you decide to engage in this type of law?
Well, let's talk about what elder law really is. Mm-hmm. Elder law is more or less a holistic practice. By that I mean we are focused on issues affecting senior citizens and disabled individuals, and we're just a part of the entire picture. Okay. What an elder law attorney tries to do is to really focus on the lifestyle choices and desires of our clients. We then want to coordinate with family members, community, resources. The whole approach is to bring everyone together. So we're focused more or less on the role of counselor rather than being courtroom gladiators.
Now, why should people plan who's going to take care of them, where they're going to live, once they retire? Why should they worry about that?
Well, I don't think you should start doing that just for retirement. Statistically, I am told that we are more likely to be disabled at some point in our life than we're likely to die.
Wow.
So when you look at that, it is a continuing process. All of us need to be focused on what do we do if we can't care for ourselves.
Right.
It can happen any second, any moment. Patty, I want to share with you that one of my dearest friends from high school was injured severely yesterday in an automobile accident. Now, she is a lady, granted I'm not young, but I consider myself still to be in an age of vibrancy.
Right.
Here she is. She's going to have to, the recovery period for her is going to be prolonged.
Does she have her legal papers in line?
I don't know.
You don't know that, but that's what we're going to talk about today. What is the definition of estate planning? Because I don't think a lot of us understand what that really means.
Oh, estate planning can, again, that is very individual, very personal. Typically, old school thoughts about estate planning were, I'm going to address what happens to my property when I'm gone.
Right.
Who gets it? To me, estate planning is a much broader topic. When I look at it, my focus is going to be, I want to help you take care of you while you're here.
Right.
Because number one, that's what's really important. You're here.
Right.
And then, many people, if they have property, they're concerned about what happens to it. Many see it as an opportunity to take what they have and leave a living legacy.
Right.
Look at this. Look at where we are today. We wouldn't be here but for some individuals who had resources and wanted to make a gift of those resources for ongoing generations.
Let's talk about the important documents that we need to prepare for estate planning and all these other things. Let's start with medical power of attorney and how important that is.
Let's talk about documents we need to
all
live.
The documents, exactly.
Okay, and then I'm a pinhead lawyer, so I'm going to be talking about pinhead legal issues.
Good.
And it can get pretty dry. And you're like, okay, come on, let's get through this as best we can. But attorneys talk about fiduciary agreements. What are those? Fiduciary agreements means that what we're doing is you, yourself, are deciding who you want to put in positions to take care of your property.
And your money.
Or more, your stuff.
Right.
I call it your stuff.
Right.
And it can be your property, it can be what's in the bank, if you have a brokerage agreement, what your broker manages, but your stuff. And then the other side of the fiduciary agreement is who's going to take care of me and make medical decisions for me if I can't make them myself. And then taking it one step further, what happens if I have a medical condition where I know I'm leaving this world?
Right.
What do I want? And so let's talk about the package.
Right.
And first element of the package to me is a medical power of attorney. Patty, you can't enter a hospital today that you don't have a paper shoved in front of you, and it's going to be the hospital's form, medical power of attorney.
Right.
Typically, that's not the best time to look at that instrument and make decisions. I mean, I think your focus is probably going to be, well, your focus is on other things.
Right.
So you want to think about this document a bit in advance. And a medical power of attorney goes statewide, I mean, throughout each of our 50 states. There is a form. Many of the states have embraced a uniform form that'll cross state borders. In this jurisdiction, we haven't done that. Ours is very, very state specific. But what you are doing within the document is you're deciding who you're going to name in the event, and only in the event, you can't communicate with your healthcare team.
Right.
And in thinking about who that individual is, and oftentimes I'll recommend to my clients, I want 3 names. Because you want to have someone on standby if the individual you would pick first is not available.
And that's particularly, I would think, important for gay couples, because they have a lot of problems with who's going to take care of them if they get sick. And
it's important for each of us.
Right.
No matter what walk of life, what ethnic background, whatever our lifestyle choices
Let's talk about living wills and advance directives. What are they, and what happens if you don't have one?
Well, may I talk about a case that I had?
Sure.
Okay. First, let's talk about what it is. A living will or an advance directive is just that. You are directing in advance what you want in the event you find yourself with a medical condition that is terminal. I have an 80-year-old gerontologist who has been a mentor for years, and I love what he says. He says, life, Colleen, is a terminal disease.
Absolutely.
And he's right.
We're all leaving this place.
But but we want to be involved while we're here. But with an advance directive, and again, this form in this jurisdiction is state specific. There are other jurisdictions in this country that have embraced a uniform form. So whenever you're thinking about this, you need to find that out.
Right.
And with our transient society, if you do something in one state, you may, if you move, want to make sure.
To do a different one.
Yeah,
right.
But let's go back to what it is. What it is you are directing in advance what medical treatment, what life-sustaining medical treatment you want as you are exiting. What happens, this is a document that is typically statutory. You can add in special provisions. Many of my clients who have various spiritual, religious persuasions want to make sure that their form is, pursuant to their particular philosophical or religious persuasion.
Right.
But what you do is you just say, this is what I want. For most of my clients, they do not want to find themselves for a prolonged period of time on a ventilator, on a respirator. They don't want to be hooked up and have machines sustaining their life. And you ask, what happens if you do not have one of these forms? Well, our jurisdiction has a statute that attempts to take care of that. It says if you haven't done this, then we will go by hierarchy through levels of next of kin, and that they will have the duty and obligation to communicate with your medical team. Medical team is looking and going, oh dear. Okay, that's what the law says. Had a case that I wanted to share, and it was of a lovely lady who had for 15 years been the caregiver of her husband who had Alzheimer's. And from the time that I started working with her, I tried to focus her on her and say, look, you know, we really need to talk about you. We need to get plans in place for you. And she'd say to me, Colleen, genetically, my people live into their mid-90s. I'm going to be here. My main concern is running out of money while I'm here. Don't worry about me. Sadly, she had a stroke. She ended up in a hospital. Here she was. She had never had children. Her husband had children from a prior marriage. She was a naturalized citizen, so any family she had was in Europe. They were all aged and infirm, couldn't come, and we were confronted with this wonderful woman who had cared for her husband for years, hooked up to tubes, had a ventilator, and what do?
Right.
The medical team wanted to do the right thing, but they were afraid. They thought, okay, we pull the plugs on this lady.
So what happened?
Liability. Well, unfortunately, we had to go to the courthouse, had to secure a temporary guardianship where the judge had to step in
and decide for you
and make that decision.
Which is what you want to avoid.
Well, you do for so many reasons.
Right. It just makes sense that you got to get that figured out.
You want to do it for you.
Right. Let me go on to, since you mentioned about a spouse, and we all want to take care of our spouses, well, not all, but most. Are there financial products or tools that are designed to give a healthy spouse some peace of mind or income?
Oh, there are. Today there are many financial products. I'm a lawyer. I am not a financial planner. And so as I talk about what elder law is, I will tell you that elder law attorneys reach out to multiple disciplines, and we try to bring opportunities to our clients. So what I will do, and it's interesting, the lady who ended up on the respirator was one who was terrified that she
wouldn't have enough money. That's
would
what I was
outlive
asking.
her resources.
Right,
and
which is a problem a lot of people have.
Well, I think
most
many
people
of us
who are elderly.
I think
worry
many
about
of
that.
us worry as we have the medical technology and the pharmaceuticals
to expand life.
Yeah,
right.
We are very worried about, will we have enough resources? What I typically do, and what most elder law attorneys will do, is they will refer clients to financial advisors they know whose focus and expertise is dealing with seniors.
But we do know that there are tools to give you some peace of mind.
Yeah.
What about Medicaid or Medicare long-term planning? What do seniors need to know about that?
That is a program in itself.
Right, especially with health care.
And with healthcare reform right now, what we all need to know, and Patty, I want to take this beyond the senior. I want to say, I don't care if you're 23 or 63, you need to be thinking about these issues, and you can't be too young to plan.
Right.
What do you want? But with Medicare and Medicaid, public benefits are available. Typically, most of my clients don't want to immediately reach out for public benefits for a solution. It's more or less the same sort of thing as reaching out to the court and having a court decide what happens to them.
Right.
What you want to really consider is, how can I plan to live with what I have without availing myself of public benefits? And that's why planning early is so important. But oftentimes, things happen. Life, the pandemonium of life, things happen. You may have the best laid plans, or you may not anticipate events that occur. So you find yourself in a crisis. That's where public benefits comes into play, and where it should come into play.
There's a lot of things also people don't know about is VA benefits.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't even know about them. What are the things that you found?
For the parents of baby boomers, the World War II Korean generation, I have been able to help so many families by directing them to Veterans Administration pension that they don't know about. And what it does and what it's designed for is to assist with the cost of long-term care, to assist people stay in their homes. Many of my senior clients really want to age in place in their home and in the comfort of the house. But they look at the cost of in-home care and they think, how can I afford to do this? This is where the VA pension can be particularly helpful.
Interesting. Now, what does asset preservation planning mean?
Asset preservation planning, what we're talking about is, okay, I've got a bucket of stuff. This is what I have. How am I going to take what I have and stretch it to be there for me as long as I'm on this earth? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about what we do to preserve what's here.
Right.
And in this,
because the state can take a lot of that away if you're not planning, correct?
Well, it's not
Taxes
so much take it away,
courts.
but if you need long-term care, as you
Age.
custodial care, if you're ill or as you age, typically public benefits are not available for that care until you spend down what you have. And many of my clients look at that and go, it seems, I have to be destitute before I can get any help. And if you do find yourself in that position, public benefits don't necessarily pay for certain, well, they don't pay for certain amenities of life. And also you find yourself very limited in your choice of where you can be, where you are in a facility that accepts, example, Medicaid. And had you, maybe a decade before, sat down with your financial advisor, with your attorney, with your family, and just looked at this, your options would have been so much better.
Right. Now, I found it very interesting what I read about professional guardians, certified professional guardians, because I would assume that family members would be your guardian. But I guess that because this is coming up, there's a need for certified professional guardians. Tell me about this. It seems like a new career.
Well, certified professional guardians today are volunteers.
Okay.
And they are volunteers who have a compassion, a desire to help people, and oftentimes they're retired individuals themselves, and they go through training to be a guardian. But Patty, my goal with my clients is to avoid a guardianship, if at all possible. That's why I talk about the documents we talked about when we first started discussing this issue. Guardianship to me is at times a necessary, but it's a last resort process. If you have a durable business power of attorney where you have named, a trusted agent, and then you'll want to always designate someone to serve as successor if something happens to your agent, if you have a medical power of attorney in place, you have what you need. So you don't need to ever be subject to a guardianship. Again, that means you take a little time, allocate just a little time, and you plan. Guardianship is a legal proceeding, and to where you have an individual who is either partially or totally incapacitated. They are a danger to themselves or others by law. And there is a need to have someone appointed to take care of them and take care of their property. So again, it's a legal process. In this county, we have a situation where we have a number of individuals who have no one else to take care of them. They are either partially impaired or they're totally impaired. Not necessarily senior citizens, can be individuals that have psychological problems.
Yeah, mental illness.
Mental illness, right. And there is a great need of volunteers who will come in.
Their guardians.
and take that responsibility. Yeah.
Let's talk about living will versus living trust. I know there's a lot of confusion about that. It's very important to know the difference.
Well, we talked about having a business power of attorney and having a medical power of attorney as when we're fortunate enough to have people in our lives that we trust enough to serve in those capacities. I have a clientele, for some reason, composed of a number of very senior ladies who have outlived their families and their friends. And oftentimes, that is where a living trust can be of great benefit. What a living trust is, you take your property and you say, I'm going to be trustee of that property as long as I can, meaning I'm going to manage my affairs as long as I can. And then you designate typically a banking institution to become your trustee when and if you cannot continue to manage your affairs. That institution then will take over for you. In most living trust agreements, it's a good idea to go beyond the financial, and many elder law attorneys will have a team, a named team, where you may have a geriatric care coordinator who is also included or named in the trust, who will be responsible for seeing that you live in the fashion that you care to live. You may have perhaps your pastor, a rabbi, if that individual agree, to be part of the team to just look and see that things are going as they should. And if you're lucky enough to have friends, you'll want to have several friends named as part of this committee. And the whole goal there is you have a number of eyes just watching what is happening to you.
And why do you think this is important?
Patty, it's so important because if you don't plan for yourself, you're going to find people who you necessarily would not want taking care of you, your property, and your assets, planning for you. Whether it is a child or a sibling or Harris County or the county where you reside. I think most people would want to make that decision for themselves. So go see your attorney. Get it done.
You've seen problems happening with this.
I've seen terrible problems in the last year. Whether it's the declining economy, I can't say, but it is a consistent problem that is recurring for all lawyers, where people overreach. If you're vulnerable, you can't do it for yourself, someone's going to be out there, they're going to want to take you, put you somewhere, take your stuff.
How do you know you're living smart?
Because I absolutely love what I do. I work all the time and I don't have to. And I feel good. So
and you have a great life. And thank you so much for being with us and joining us and sharing your knowledge about this. And now on to our green tips. We'll learn about sustainable eating from restaurant owner Federico Marquez.
Sustainable eating is eating that is derived from food that is actually grown in a better manner. It's healthier and it's probably more environmentally sustainable to produce than normal food that you get at a fast food joint or maybe you pick up at some chain somewhere. We have to source a lot of products, and we have a lot of products that are locally grown. That means they're not transported hundreds of miles in order to get here. We have a lot of local farmers that provide us from 5, 10, 20 miles away. I think the furthest one is maybe 60 miles away. And a lot of the products that we have are like hemp or quinoa, are very easy to grow. They require very little fertilizer, very little water, very little care. And they actually enrich the soil. They don't deplete the soil. So, you know, they're constantly giving more than what you're putting in. So that helps. It doesn't deplete anything. The environmental impact is minimal. Start a garden in your backyard. That's it. You can grow a few herbs like basil, cilantro, thyme. That'll help. I mean, an herb garden is really very easy to do. I mean, you just get a big pot like so big, put some herbs in it, and you're off. So, and from there you might want to start growing some tomatoes or squash or cucumbers. Very simple things to do in your backyard. And you'll be surprised at just how much fresher the food tastes when you get it on your table.
To learn more about green tips or planning your retirement, go to our website. There you'll find a complete resource list. You can also email us or call us with your comments at 713-743-8513. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a wonderful week.